6 years ago, my older daughter Nicole started school, started kindergarten. Little by little, I started to realize that I had to do it all over again. I had to go to school with her and go through the whole process all over again. It was, to tell you the truth, painful to just think about going through all the grades for a second time. And then a third time when my second daughter, Angelina, started school as well. Very soon, I started to see a little more from the outside that when I coursed school, I started to see contradictions. For instance, we all love our children, and we want them to think out of the box, right? We want them to be creative, but creativity cannot be scheduled. What do we do to make sure our kids are creative and think out of the box? We put them on a box for 6, 8 hours, whatever amount of hours a day. And then we send them homework. So they have no time free for free thinking, right? Secondly, we want our children to be free thinkers, don't we? Who here wouldn't want their kids to be a free thinker? What do? We bore them to death, telling them all day what to do, when to do it, even how to do it. Very repetitive. Who of you remember or have your children going through school and doing homework with them and going through the repetitive process of doing over and over things again and again? In third place, we want to prepare our children to a future that is very complex, right? And yet, we give them information and we overload them with information. But the times have changed. We are not anymore in a world of scarcity, of information scarcity. Information abounds. Actually, we live in a world of information overload. There's too much information. So we shouldn't be worried anymore about giving them their information so they have the general culture. We have to worry about them being able to process in this new world that has information overload. Who here has seen this documentary, Waiting for Superman? One person at least, okay. I recommend it, it's interesting. It's not all that there is to say about education, but there has some important truths. And it might make you cry at the end. So, let me make some scenarios of how education could look in a future where we start thinking in different possibilities. And we try to expand our minds and work together for a different future for our kids. This is what we have today, is this industrialized view of education that hasn't changed in 100 years. Everything else has changed. If you look at anything in our world today, everything has changed. But education is still the authority in front. The teacher has all the authority, and the kids are there listening and repeating and obeying, pretty much. What if, and this is the first trend that I want to set for the future of education, what if, and this might sound a little radical, I might say, but what if we don't need a curriculum? It's a little strong, and it might be conflicting with your views, but what I think is the curriculum is a one-for-all solution. We all need to learn this when we are in first grade. And when we're in second grade, we all need to learn this other subject. What I say is, to learn something, you have to connect whatever you're learning with whatever you have in your own mind. How can you connect to things that you don't care for? How can you connect to things that you don't have links to? In order to connect to the new information, you have to have these questions. You have to have curiosity. Your mind has to have wondered about the things. So what I'm saying is, and this is something that has been proven. There's already in the United States since after the 1960-some years, there's been schools that are called democratic schools, or Sudbury model. These schools don't have curriculum. Children come to school and they stay all day doing whatever, pursuing their passions. And this is the important thing, is that they need to find their passions, because we all know that we can only be good when we're passionate about things. So the solution maybe is not a one-for-all model of education, but a personalized education, where every kid will have whatever they need at the moment they need it. And my second scenario for the future education is What if technology is going to play a great role in matching the kids with the best teachers around the world and then helping them learn whatever they really are interested at the moment they need it, giving them the answers that they have questions on their heads for? There are already models like this. There is the Bill Gates and Melinda Gates Foundation is already working with a professor of math that is doing these great videos. It's called the Khan Academy. And they're building these videos, and kids go and see the videos at home. And then when they come to school, the teachers are like the facilitators. The teachers are there to answer the questions, to do the exercise with the kids. But when it comes to learning, there's one teacher that is great at doing that subject. Also, kids can be matched on their learning styles. We all learn differently. We all have different interests and different capacities too, and different talents. And the education is very centered on the rational and the mathematics and the language. What about the art? What about kids dancing all day? They cannot be there sitting in a chair, and they're not ADD. They just need to dance, for instance, or they need to play basketball, but they were all being labeled as ADD. Who knows someone here that has been labeled ADD, for instance? A few of you? Thirdly, and this might be even more controversial, my third scenario to conclude is, what if games, instead of being the terrifying opposite of what we think, maybe they are the great help. Maybe games can help us motivate kids. When kids are motivated, they can learn wherever. Have you seen a kid when they're motivated, how many hours they can spend on one of those games, leveling up, checking their status, putting in their walls, interchanging information? So what if we can use games to our advantage? What if we can use games to change education, to connect the kids, and to have a network where they're learning and they're teaching to each other as well? I know it's a big challenge, and like Jose was saying, when there's a challenge, we have to race to the occasion. There's a lot of work to do. We need to free these kids. They are trapped in the schools today, in an industrialized school that doesn't serve them well anymore. So I really want you to start thinking about how we can change the education and create the education of